Hey guys, how's it going? Excuse me for a moment. I'm just grabbing some cards. Oh, look at that. The universe. That's the bottom. That was on the bottom of the deck. The Great One of the Night of Time. And you can see it's the yin and the yang, the darkness and the light. You know what? Maybe that's what I'll talk about. The yin and the yang, the understanding of our darkness, our shadows, and our light aspects, and how feminine, masculine, by the way, and how to incorporate them and to embody them into your life and into your being and into just how you function as an individual. Let me just sit with that for a second. Okay. So, there are many energies in the world, and it is easy for us to get caught up in being one way versus the other way, where we can get out of balance and our body and our being will react in a way where we come across distorted, and it can look like many different emotions, and the mirrored effect can be rejection, abandonment. It can be embarrassment. It can be fear. It can be displacement, financial burdens. It can feel like shame, guilt. And on the opposite end of that, it can also feel like being manic. So it can feel like mental health issues. It can feel like depression. It can feel like extreme joy, but the joy also drops out from beneath you. Okay, so if you're overly, I guess on the other side, I keep dropping back into the other one, because what happens for me is I tend to try to push myself into the one energy a lot more, and then the darkness takes over, right? Because I'm not accepting the shadow aspects of myself, the male aspects of myself. I start to reject it, and in that rejection and non-embodiment, I lose energy, and I lose the ability to foster motivation, and the intent gets lost. Okay, so being overly positive of the light and not accepting that you're upset or you're angry or what was done was improper, and then allowing that to envelop within you and to be facilitated in what you were saying, you lose the emotional aspect of it. You lose the intensity and the vision of what is meant to be fostered. And so I'm sure when you go too deep into the darkness of what is, it's like this over escalation of ego and of self-sureness, and it probably comes with this idea of power that is evoked from this place of like over darkness, overzealous. It's almost a naive sense of being, and yet you probably feel elated and you feel extreme and you feel powerful and you feel this like evoking energy of just like supremacy and hierarchy and you know, this level of probably fallacy of other people, you know what I mean? Like, just you evoke a level of like, I don't give a shit, and you start to step on the people that you love. So 555 on the clock. Anyways, that's a long way of like getting into it, but I guess it needed to come out in that sense because I needed to understand it as well, which is typical for my like fostering this, because I want you to see the both ends of it, like to be able to facilitate an understanding of what's going on. Okay, so in society, for example, I'm gonna give you an example of what I went through, but let's just start with society, and then I can give you another example. Society right now, there's a lot of people that are walking in the light as these hierarchy people that we look up to and that individuals are fighting for, and we are trying to like, we're like, he's the right one, no, he's the right one, no, this is the right one, no, you're wrong for thinking this, no, you're wrong for thinking this. And what happens is that the person in power, the energy rolls over and it floods those underneath it like the pyramid. Okay, so the one with the power that sits at the top, it cascades down onto the ones below. And so the more people that start idolizing one person versus understanding the inner concept of the opposites and the understanding of masculine, feminine, there wouldn't be a single hierarchy. It would be two people at the top, if that makes sense, and not like two masculine figures at the top. It would be a masculine and a feminine. It would be the embodiment of polarity. It's not overzealous like control, you know what I mean? So I'll give you an example that I went through. So as you all know, I had that individual and that experience where I was punished for expressing my truth, and then later on my truth was used to basically outperform and push me out of the way. And that was the superiority complex, the over masculine archetype that was frustrated and forcing the feminine energy of like flow and emotion and things to be like mitigated because they assume emotional intelligence. Okay, what is wrong with that is they are, and then used that as a tool in order to facilitate, oh, this person was this way, so they can't be there. I had tried, obviously, and I imagined I was partners with this person. This person's energy was very masculine and very like unsure of how to handle feminine energy. So when the feminine energy, which was me, started intuitively operating from intuition and showcasing these different things and giving lessons to those who were overly masculine or overly idolizing a single body, because the single body did not say that it was counter body. It was two people that were facilitating the structure. Okay, so I was facilitating the deeper inner parts of it. I was building things out, which was a very masculine thing for me to do, I won't lie. So my feminine, my inner feminine started reacting, and it started to come out, and it was like, this isn't right. And the feminine can be very destructive as well. I mean, the masculine can be destructive and is a destructive energy in itself. But what happens is when the feminine energy is distorted, it goes into the wounded feminine, which then becomes destructive and becomes like overly emotional and overly attentive. And it can foster these like different ways of being that come out in like bitterness and that sort of stuff. And the masculine will blame, and the masculine will shame, and the masculine will create a falsity of the superiority. Okay, so the feminine and the masculine can't actually come up into balance because the masculine doesn't take ownership and doesn't dock the ego and say, I fucked up. Pardon my French, but 11:11. The masculine energy doesn't allow for themselves to be cut down in order to foster this new truth. And they'll cut themselves down in private, but they won't cut themselves down to the totality. Okay, so and that's keeping the structure of the pyramid. Okay, so they won't dock themselves down because they know that if they just cut the one person, then they can still facilitate the triangle. They can still facilitate the hierarchy of a single individual. Okay, so what is needing to happen is we are needing to foster more counteraction of the feminine energy in power. We need more people in power that are facilitating from the flow, the intuition, that sort of thing. And what sometimes happens is somebody at the top will then integrate more people who have feminine archetype underneath them, as long as they do not see the imbalance that is within their wounded self in order to try to balance themselves out. The problem with that is that they are still wounded themselves. So that wounded mentality will always be there, and it will continue to facilitate new obstacles within the triad and triangle of what is within themselves. Okay, and this will be a residual effect within all members, because when the instability of the top starts going, the next in line, the feminine energies, it'll be doubled. Okay, so the feminine energies are then like 1, 2, 3, that sort of thing. Okay, so then the feminine energy that's below them will start to feel the weight of that, causing a ripple effect. The feminine energy then becomes distorted. It then distorts the masculine again, and vice versa. And it will go down like that. Okay? And that's what creates this modality of like woundedness within. Even if we think that there is no wounding, if the leader is wounded, it doesn't balance. Okay? So having two people at the top, I don't believe in singularity of leadership. I believe that all leadership is and should be devised of a masculine archetype and a feminine archetype working together. Hence, twin flames are so powerful and so important, because it's the masculine and the feminine that are working together to create balance in the world and facilitate deeper change that's not wounded. Okay, so it helps to balance the wounded parts of the world. And it's very powerful. Very, very powerful. Anyways, so if there would have been the balance as the intuitive person inside me, the feminine, divine feminine, was appreciated and loved and was able to receive then from the masculine, because the masculine would have given and would have seen the power of the truth. But because he was wounded, and he's wounded, and he appears to be not wounded because he's using that as a ploy to prevent himself from looking at the parts of himself that he doesn't want to look at, he is taking what he figures and he's like, oh, I can just invest it into, helping people in a way that it appears I'm helping people, but really I'm not looking at my own self. I'm just projecting, and I'm just like, if I'm getting what I need, I don't have to look at myself the way, and I must be doing everything right because I'm getting what I need. I'm getting and this is what the people in superiority and hierarchy is right now, right? I'm getting what I need. Masculine deserves more than feminine. These things are not real. These things are a mentality of the wounded masculine, okay? The superiority complex, the people assuming that masculines deserve more, that masculines are more important. Here's the thing. He went out and he got another masculine to work with him, and he was validating the masculine. He didn't validate me, a feminine energy, because I was emotional. Every time there was emotion, he would be like, I can't hold this. I can't hold this, because he's wounded. He could not hold the energy of truth. He tried, and he started to do an okay job, but you can tell that it still he wasn't really looking at himself. He was trying to put up a wall and trying to mitigate it so that it wouldn't come at him anymore. The energy was too much for him, because it's like a structure that is built on cracking. Okay, so when you're a structure and you're meant to hold the feminine energy in her essence, and there are cracks, she's going to find those cracks and she's going to break you down. But instead of realizing this, it was projection and trying to save himself because he couldn't handle it. And so instead of saying and speaking out loud the truth, which was, yes, she gave me the idea. We worked on this together. She built out this entire thing, and being honest with what she was doing from the start and accepting when the feminine says, I need this so we can come into balance again, because it is unbalanced and you have taken and taken and taken and taken and taken. The feminine energy feels that restraint of the masculine, and that is what creates the crazy shit that happens in life. Pardon my French again. Sorry, I know it's not French. It's just expressive. There needs to be balance. We need to understand the balance of ourselves. But we also need to understand the balance of the people that we are trying to determine are leaders of integrity, that people that we can follow. And how can you tell? You can tell because if you were to go and see the truth of a person, say there was certain things that they obviously weren't conducting properly, question them about it and see how they react. And if they react in a certain way, dig deeper, get to the core of who they are. Okay? And some will set up boundaries right away because they know. So they're like, oh, hell no, I ain't gonna be knocked down off of my totem here, but their structures are built under a foundation that isn't real, that's not transparent. They're only providing minimal amounts of themselves. When you ask them questions, they don't feel the urge to be vulnerable. They don't feel the urge to be like, yeah, I reacted improperly. Yeah, I did this recently. They will mitigate it and they will say, I moved out of that energy. I'm no longer doing that anymore. I'm no longer doing this. Rejecting their shadow instead of saying yeah, I still occasionally do this. it's still a part of me. That's accepting your shadow. That's accepting the parts of you. If you're a feminine, that's accepting the masculine parts of you, where it's like, I didn't act properly. I should have done this and I should have done that differently. But I didn't, and I'm moving through it right now. It's still a part of me, but I'm learning to be able to adapt from it. And for the masculine, it's like giving credit where it's deserved, okay? Not just when we want to give credit to people who we want to give credit to, it's to the truth. It's being transparent in the fact that, yeah, I fucked up, and she had to tell me multiple times that I was acting out of integrity, and instead of honoring her, I made her out to be the bad person. And then I went and got a masculine archetype in order to take her place. And I couldn't offer her the same because she's a feminine. And it screws up polarity by giving equal to both. Not true. It screws up polarity if you're in a relationship and one person is giving to just one person and the other person is just continuing to take it, and there's no give and take. It's an ebb and flow. Our energy changes, and we have to accept that. And if you're not willing to accept that, and you think that it's just you who needs to deserve everything, and you can just have everybody else do everything for you, and you're not giving anything back, especially as a leader is a real, true leader is not single. A true leader is the collaboration of individuals that worked beside them. And if they're not willing, and they might appear to be giving people credit, that's the other thing. Be cautious. Even the people you think are giving credit to other people may not be giving credit to the right people. They may have covered up things to counteract their losses in order to appear as if they are really giving back, but they didn't give back to the right people. And then that person will feel unworthy. The person they're giving the credit to will feel unworthy, and that wounded masculine will appear because it's not the truth. It's not the truth. We can only claim what is ours. We can only claim the truth of what is the truth. And especially if you're a truth speaker, there are people that are of the darkness. I like to say of the darkness, but not really dark, just stuck in their shadow aspects and not willing to be real with their shadow. Okay, so that was a lot. I hope that wasn't too much for people. Wow. It might have been a little bit much, but again, that's the passion and the truth and like expression, right? So we got to learn to accept both bodies of energy because they both have their place and they both deserve the awareness of what is, okay? So don't be afraid of the darkness of yourself, the devil of yourself. Sometimes we have to call upon that part of ourselves. Sometimes we have to like evoke that part of ourselves to come into balance because we are so, as a feminine especially, we are so stuck in this like feminine energy, and then we start being submissive and passive and broken because we haven't evoked the energy of the dark parts of ourselves, of the negative parts of ourselves, the parts of ourselves that like everybody's telling us, no, you can't be that way. That's not real. That's not good. What is good? Allowing yourself to be a doormat, allowing yourself to be like ran over by people because it hurts other people to be who you are, or being real and being like owning your shit, owning, I fucked up in this. Yeah, you're right, I didn't that, but you also did this. Coming into balance. I love you guys. I hope that was helpful. And yeah. All right. I'm like biting my lip here. I'm like eating the skin. Oh, that's kind of weird, right? Gross. The things we do. We don't tell people about. Okay. I'll talk to you guys soon. I love you. Like, subscribe, and hit the notifications bell so you can know when I'm posting videos if you feel like it. Sometimes there's lots that come out at once, sometimes none. Comment, share. If you feel like my message is helpful, please share, because the more you share, the more I can get out there. And I really want to get the right messages out to the right people and come back from anything that happened. It's time to put some balance in the world, and like really we need to like establish more women in power, more people that are truthful and honest, and more, and that doesn't mean man or woman, I should say. It's more feminine energies in power. Okay? Love you guys. Yeah, talk to you later. Bye.